The Washington Post published a profile on 1789 Capital co-founders Chris Buskirk, titled The Secretive Donor Circle That Lifted J.D. Vance is Now Rewriting MAGA's Future. The piece highlights him as a key figure behind the scenes in the MAGA movement, detailing how his organization, the Rockbridge Network, helped propel Vance into the vice presidency and continues to shape Republican strategy and policy. Joining us now on this and more is 1789 Capital Rockbridge Network co-founder Chris Buskirk. Chris, it's good to have you on.
Morning.
We've had a lot of the people that we're talking about. We've had Orrin Cass on a couple of times, and we've had Don Jr. On, and obviously Omid Malik has been on, and the vice president. So it's a wide net. Do you have any comments about what we saw yesterday in the elections, what it portends for the midterms?
I've got a bunch of comments, probably more time than you have on the show. But my high level is that I don't think that the New York mayoral race says a whole lot about the midterms. Manhattan and the five boroughs obviously are unique, kind of one-on-one. So I don't know that data point tells us a whole lot, except for one thing, which is that the Democratic Party continues to go towards the radical left. I mean, is openly embracing Marxism. And while that might work in Manhattan, I'm not so sure that works in Michigan or Wisconsin or Arizona and so forth. With regards to Virginia, candidates matter. Winsome Sears was a weak candidate. She had eschewed the president, made it very clear that she was not supportive, asked him to step aside in 2023, and that makes it really hard to turn out the Republican base and get them excited. And that's a lot of what we've learned over the years in the political work we've done, is that you have to motivate your base. The Republican Party and the MAGA movement now has a working class base, and if they're not excited about the candidate, they are not going to come out and vote. And that's what we saw in Virginia.
The overlap between differing philosophies, Chris, is apparent to me, and whenever we had Orrin Cass on, it was always apparent to me. And now, for lack of a better term, Aristopopulism. Have you used that term as to what maybe?
I learned that term yesterday when I read the story. So no, it's not a term I've ever used, but it was. I wrote it down yesterday, but I'm not exactly sure what it's supposed to mean.
Is it we know that about populism on the Democrat side, obviously, and we know what their ideas entail. For populism, for trying to help people. It's always been my take that progressive ideas, it's an oxymoron. They usually end up with a regressive end result. If you connect the dots, it never helps the people they're trying to help. It usually just, takes us all to a lower plane. But isn't there a slippery slope when conservatives start talking about raising corporate taxes, start talking about, the worker class, I think, is helped when companies succeed using time-tested conservative free market principles, not adopting a lot of socialist principles or left-wing principles and sort of trying to dress them up as something different because you're a Republican.
Yeah, no, we're in fierce agreement on that, Joe. Look, the only way we're going to create prosperity is with an innovation economy. And that's what we do at 1789 Capital. We're very focused on investing in the best innovators, the best founders, the best companies who are moving the world forward by creating great technologies to solve some of the world's most hardest problems, and that creates broad-based prosperity. If you try and create prosperity by taxing it, you will not create any prosperity at all, and you will immiserate millions of people, as we've seen all over the world, and as I think New York is about to find out in spades.
Yeah, we've tried this so many different times. All the cliches that, rich people run out of money. They don't have enough money to spread it out evenly so that suddenly everything works the way a socialist thinks it would work. It never has succeeded. And we are trying it again here, Chris. That's what you just said. What do you expect to happen in New York City?
I expect people who can leave with any money at all and any resources to leave. And they will continue doing what they've been doing at least since 2020, probably going to Florida. I was joking with a friend last night that the Realtor of the Year for the Florida Realtors Association is likely to be the mayor-elect of New York City. And so those people will leave, and New York will probably follow the path of a lot of other once great American cities, places like Baltimore, Detroit, and so forth, and will just continue the slow decline, which has been depressing to see, but policy matters. And so, New York was just starting to come back from the COVID restrictions, and I think that this is a massive self-inflicted wound that is going to do nothing but harm the people who live in New York and who can't leave.
When I've had, what's Cass's, what is his organization? Because he has said,
Compass.
That's it, American Compass. I've asked whether the vice president really does adopt a lot of those principles wholeheartedly, and because I know that President Trump does, and I assume that probably the vice president has modified some of the. Do you, for example, which of the basic tenets of Orrin Cass and American Compass do you adhere to?
Well, look, Orrin came up with an index about maybe 6 or 7 years ago, which I thought was really smart. And he called it the Cost of Thriving Index, and that was an economic index that basically tried to describe what we think of as kind of a stereotypical good middle class life entails in America. It's like, you're married, you have a couple of kids, you own a house, you own a car, you can afford health care, you can send your kids to college, et cetera. And that was something that I found really insightful when Orrin did that back in maybe 2018 or 2019.
Chris, that sounds like Mamdani. And then you just say, okay, so how do we affect that for people to get there? And do you think raising corporate taxes is the way to affect that?
No, that's a way to get further and further away from that.
That's what he's,
like you
that's
cannot
not what he
tax
says.
your way into prosperity, right? So I thought that was
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I thought that index was a useful as a way of understanding what a goal is and saying, like, how do we get to a point where this is the norm, right? The last time that you could raise a family by and do what was described in the Cost of Thriving Index that Orrin created, last time you could do that in this country on a single median income was 1989, and so it struck me that it is a good goal to figure out what are the preconditions politically and economically in order to get to that point where the kind of stereotypical post-World War II middle American life was achievable on a single median income. The answer I have for that is not taxation, emphatically not taxation. It is innovation. It is how do we create new technologies that solve problems, that increase productivity and therefore increase prosperity, which will proliferate throughout the country and throughout the American citizenry, regardless of their socioeconomic status at the beginning.
Like people would say that sounds like a supply side trickle down, and I've said, hey, look, supply side trickle down is all we got. You grow the pie and you hope for the best and do things to grease it to try to spread it out the best you can, but certainly shrinking the pie with policies that are counterproductive has never helped anyone. And but what you have just done is condensed exactly what we're talking about. Mamdani could have had the same index and said, look, it's been since 1989 since people were able to afford living in New York City. And then on the other side, Orrin Cass has also, identified that issue. But the way to get there is bipolar or polar opposites. The way to affect what you want.
You can't do it by taking things from people. You have to do it by increasing the amount of things that are being made. It's the point you just made, Joe, which is increase the size of the pie. And since the first industrial revolution, the middle of the 18th century, the way we've been doing it is by creating new technologies that make people able to do more with less, and that increases prosperity. Chris,
who's going to be? Is J.D. Vance going to be the next nominee in your view?
Well, I say a little prayer every single night that he will be. So, yeah, I sure hope so.
How is 1789? How is it good investments and patriotic? How do those things go together? Is that a real thing?
Yeah, it is a real thing, because the best thing that we can do as investors is to increase the prosperity of the country. And as you know, the drum I'm going to be beating from now probably until the day I die is how do we increase prosperity by building new things? And that's what we're investing in. We're investing in the entire AI stack, whether it be energy, chips, models, investing in energy, space, defense tech, et cetera. We got to push things forward. We got to grow that pie, and that means giving capital to the best founders out there.